Special edition of the broadcast over the course of the next 30 minutes. We'll be updating you on everything that's been happening around the world. And let's start with some news from India first, where the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted dinner for his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah at his residence in New Delhi. The two leaders also shook hands and then strolled in the halls of Modi's residence. And Netanyahu landed in New Delhi earlier in the day yesterday and is accompanied by a 130-member delegation who will also be visiting India's financial capital Mumbai and Modi's home state of Gujarat. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi attended a very solemn ceremony to mark the formal renaming of a New Delhi boulevard after an Israeli city. Netanyahu, who was accompanied by his wife, laid a wreath along with Modi and took part in the formal renaming ceremony of New Delhi's iconic Teen Murti Chowk as Teen Murti Haifa Chowk. They also have signed the visitors' book. Amidst the rift in the Indian judiciary, now 4 retired judges, including an ex-Supreme Court judge, have written an open letter to the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Misra, asking him for a rational, fair and transparent process for the allocation of cases. The letter was written by former Apex Court Judge P.B. Sawant, ex-Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court A.P. Shah, and the former Madras High Court Judge K. Chandru and ex-Bombay High Court Judge H. Suresh. The Indian Army is celebrating the 70th Army Day today. Army Chief General Bipin Rawat will be reviewing the parade at the Karyappa Parade Grounds in New Delhi this morning. The Army Chief will also present gallantry awards to the personnel. Every year, the Army celebrates the 15th of January as Army Day. And people in India's southern state of Tamil Nadu celebrated the harvest festival of Pongal with great zeal and fervour as they conducted the bull-taming sport of Jallikattu and then offered prayers. Excitement levels were at the peak when the people in Madurai also took part in Jallikattu bullfights in which men wrestle with rampaging bulls. Last year, the state had unanimously passed an amendment bill clearing the path to conduct the sport, which was outlawed by India's Supreme Court in 2014, stating that it was cruelty against the animals. And people across India celebrated the Makar Sankranti, a Hindu harvest festival, by flying kites, eating traditional food and enjoying with clotheskins on Sunday. International kite festivals are a huge crowd puller in several Indian metros as Western Rajkot and Jaipur cities saw participants from different countries from around the world come to watch as well as take part in the festival. A 114-year-old man living in northern India's northern Taran city is an inspiration for all generations. Karnail Singh, who at the age of 114 lives with his 5th generation, is able to move out freely without any help. He goes for a morning walk every day and never drinks alcohol or has never indulged in drugs. Now, many amongst his family marvel at his longevity. However, Singh remains humble and says that God has been kind enough for him to have given him such a long life. Well, let's move on to some international news now, where Iran's president has said that the United States had actually failed to undermine a nuclear deal between Tehran and the major powers of the world. And he has hailed the accord as a long-standing victory for Iran. And US President Donald Trump on Friday had delivered an ultimatum to the European signatories of the deal to fix the flaws of the agreement with Iran, or the United States will pull out from the agreement. Britain's main opposition, Labour Party, is not supporting or calling for a second referendum on EU membership, its leader Jeremy Corbyn has said on Sunday. Scottish leader Nicola Sturgeon has said that she would be able to make a judgment on whether to hold a second referendum on Scottish independence by the end of this year, after the shape of a deal between Britain and the European Union becomes clear. The Sturgeon's Scottish National Party are due to publish a study of the economic impact of Brexit on Scotland later in the day. Germany's Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen has met with Jordan's King Abdullah in Amman on Sunday. And according to local media reports, the two leaders discussed bilateral ties, specifically military and defense cooperation between the two countries. An activist and artist, Robin Bell, has projected the word shithole along with other slogans on the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. Robin Bell has been creating guerrilla-like protests since 2001, facing strong condemnation at home and abroad. U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday had denied making the derogatory comments about Haiti or Haitians, but had kept up the criticism of a Senate immigration plan that said that he would force the United States to admit people from countries that are doing badly. A strong magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck the coast of southern Peru on Sunday morning, leaving one person dead and several others injured while causing homes and roads to collapse. Peruvian President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski visited areas affected by the strong magnitude 7.1 earthquake that struck Peru on Sunday morning. He said that the government is working on this and for the moment everything is more or less pretty much calm. The security has been tightened in Santiago on Sunday, just a day ahead of a visit by Pope Francis and after a series of attacks on Catholic churches on Friday. A motorcade could be seen at the Holy Site's diplomatic mission, and also the police were on guard in front of the Catholic Cathedral in the Chilean capital. The Israeli military has claimed that it has destroyed a cross-border attack tunnel that ran from Gaza into Israel and Egypt, dug by Hamas, the Islamist group that controls the Palestinian enclave. The residents in Gaza have said that the Israeli jets had bombed an area east of southern town of Rafah by the Egyptian and the Israeli borders late on Saturday night. The more people are returning to their homes, which have been heavily damaged and destroyed in central Syria's Hama province in the recent months, as more areas of Hama's countryside have now been liberated from the rebel groups. The central city of Homs from a northern rebel-held city that they had evacuated last year. One of the few remaining survivors of the Nanjing massacre, Chen Fengying, has passed away at the age of 93. There are fewer than 100 people still living today who had witnessed firsthand the mass murder, rape and torture that was committed by the Japanese troops in China's former capital during the Second World War. Now, a wall in the Memorial Hall of the victims of the Nanjing massacre shows the faces of those who are still alive today, who survived the brutal mass murder 80 years ago. And most of them are now in their 90s. North Korean officials participated in a sports event on Sunday in the capital city of Pyongyang, marking the first sports day of the new year. And in a video that was provided by the KCNA, the officials ran through the streets of Pyongyang and also took part in rhythmic exercises and taekwondo dance at the Kim Il-sung Square. The Philippines has raised the alert at its restive Mayon volcano by one notch, citing signs of a possible rising magma that could actually lead to hazardous eruptions. The residents have been asked to evacuate from two villages near the volcano, a tourist attraction in central Albay province, because of its near-perfect cone shape. following a phreatic or steam-driven eruption on Saturday. Pakistan will try to privatize its national airline before general elections due this year. Privatization Minister Netanyahu has said as the ruling party seeks to restart sales of the state-run businesses, Pakistan International Airlines have been hit by management turmoil in recent years and also a 2016 plane crash that had led to 47 deaths. A fierce fire was spotted at sea where oil tanker Sanchir exploded and then completely sank at Sunday noon. Now this after 9 days after it had collided with a bulk freighter east of the Yangtze River estuary of Shanghai on the 6th of January. The dense smog rose 3,000 meters high in the sky and also broke through the thick clouds. Two people were killed in a tanker truck that caught fire on a highway in South China on Saturday morning. The fire broke out as the tanker truck collided with another truck, resulting in an oil leak on the Lanzhou-Haikou highway. A tourist speedboat carrying about 31 passengers exploded in front of the Phi Phi Island in Thailand, injuring about 16 people, most of them tourists from China. The speedboat, named King Poseidon, was carrying about 27 Chinese tourists from the nearby resort of Phuket to Phi Phi before its engine suddenly caught fire and then exploded, injuring about 14 tourists and 2 crew members. Now, the police have said that the authorities are still investigating the cause of the explosion. A casino ship caught fire off the coast of Florida on Sunday with 50 people on board and 1 person is reported to be missing in the incident. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office deputies assisted the fire department in the rescue operations, and also reports indicate that 49 passengers were able to make it to the shore where they were treated by emergency response officials. The Liberia's ruling Unity Party has expelled the country's outgoing President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, from whom they accuse of meddling in last year's presidential elections, in which its candidate suffered a bruising defeat. The Johnson Sirleaf, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate who has been in power for about 12 years, denies the party's allegation that she held inappropriate private meetings with the election magistrate before the 10th of October last year. A bomb blast wounded a member of the Palestinian group Hamas in the Lebanese city of Sidon on Sunday, destroying his car as well as he was about to just get in. The target in this case, named Mohammed Hamdan, was not a publicly known Hamas figure in Lebanon. And also a statement from Hamas, the Islamist group that controls Gaza, has confirmed that he was a member of the group, without detailing his role, and has said that the initial indication suggested that it was Israel that was behind the bombing. The hundreds of Tunisians demonstrated peacefully against government austerity measures in the capital after nearly a week of violent protests on Sunday. The protests erupted on the 8th of January in several towns and cities across Tunisia, triggered by tax and price hikes that were imposed on the 1st of January as the government seeks to reduce budget deficit to meet an agreement with its international donors. Almost 800 people have been arrested for vandalism and also acts of violence. More than 12 million boxes of powdered baby milk by the French company Lactalis have been recalled after a salmonella scandal. The CEO of the company has said that their products are in 83 countries have been found to be contaminated. The products have been subject to a recall since December after the salmonella bacteria was discovered at a factory. Several lawsuits have also been filed by families after children became unwell due to the formula. The search for the survivors of the deadly mudslides in parts of California's Santa Barbara County continues, even as hopes have dwindled to find anyone alive. The death toll has risen to about 20 people by Sunday, with 4 people still believed to be missing. Another 900 emergency personnel arrived this weekend to join the relief efforts that are being conducted by more than 2,100 personnel from local, state and federal agencies. The small coastal community of California has mourned the victims of the mudslides that devastated neighborhoods in nearby Montecito earlier in the week. The dozens of people gathered at a local meeting point to lay down candles and flowers in honor of the victims, some of them only 3 years old. The age of chivalry lived on in Sao Paulo state on Sunday during a medieval sword fighting tournament which recreated the stirring fighting competitions with the knights of yesteryears. The tournament in the city of Campinas is part of the Liga Tropical, a local competition that is affiliated with Historical Medieval Battle International Association, which seeks to bring the sport of sword fighting back into the modern day. Residents of Australia's alpine regions woke to a surprising summer sight on Sunday morning. While most of Australia is usually sweating out the summer in January, the ski resort of Mount Hotham enjoyed a very unseasonal blanket of snow. The French commune is expected to welcome the masses of ski fans after having been isolated for nearly about a week due to an avalanche. The traffic in a commune in the Savoy department in southeastern France was severely affected by an avalanche on the 7th of January, and thick snow could be seen on the roofs of the chalets and also on the high snow walls, which were created after the authorities have cleared the roads. The stranded vehicles and long queues ensued after strong winds whipped up vast amounts of snow in northwest China, paralyzing traffic throughout the Meitasi mountainous region and Emin County. The snow whipped up by the gale force winds reduced visibility to less than 50 meters, causing severe issues for transportation. The 4 giant pandas in northwest China's Liaoning province are excited to frolic in the snow. Their home in the Shenyang Forest Zoo has been decorated with white from continuous snowfall during the past few weeks. Paragliding holds its World Cup Super Final in Colombia until the 20th of January, and already the flyers have made a spectacular sight as they sail above the town of the slopes of the Andes Mountains. The World Cup Tour sees pilots or teams of pilots set a course and a task, and they have to fly the course and complete the task, which can include making a designated maneuver within a specified time limit. So Tesla has offered a glimpse at its much anticipated and more affordably priced Model 3 sedan. Now, Tesla's first mass market sedan is priced at $35,000. Tesla has said that it would like to build about 2,500 Model 3S per week by the end of the first quarter. But the company now expects to reach its goal of 5,000 vehicles per week by the end of the second quarter. The Volvo Ocean Race leader Team Han Song-hai Scalawag has made an emergency maneuver in the Pacific Ocean to recover the crew member who had fell overboard at speed, losing at least 5 nautical miles. The 22-meter craft was worked back to pluck the member from the water. As he was pulled on board, it was plain that he was not wearing either a safety tether or even a buoyancy aid. Well, to some entertainment news now, and the US film stars Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks have added their voices to those supporting Oprah Winfrey as a presidential candidate in the year 2020. But during last week's Golden Globe Awards, host Seth Meyers joked about the possibility of an Oprah presidency, but after the media mogul's rousing acceptance speech while receiving the award, many began to view her candidacy as a real possibility for the 2020 presidential elections in the United States. The Jumanji starring Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart dominated the North American box office over the weekend, earning about $27 million. Steven Spielberg's The Post, starring Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, claimed the second position with $18,600 million in terms of ticket sales.
Been lying about the Vietnam War for 30 years.
Well, for some sports news now, Britain's Anthony Joshua will be putting his perfect 20-fight, 20 knockout record on the line when he takes on New Zealand's Joseph Parker in a world heavyweight unification bout in Cardiff. Now, Joshua holds the WBA and the IBF versions of the crown, while Parker is the WBO champion and is unbeaten in 24 contests with 18 knockouts. Following weeks of negotiations, the 28-year-old Joshua has confirmed the fight. But the winner of the fight will take a step towards becoming the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis in 1999. The unheralded Tom Hodge birdied the final 2 holes to take a 1-stroke lead after an eventful third round of the Sony Open in Hawaii, on a day when the pressure of making putts was put into perspective after local emergency authorities released an alert mistakenly warning of an incoming ballistic missile attack. Hodge had signed up for a 6-under 64 at the Vail Country Club in Honolulu. Halfway leader Brian Harman could not maintain his blistering pace but made the hunt for a third PGA Tour victory with a 68 that put him 1 shot behind and alongside Patton Kizzire.